thank you all for joining us today. It is a pleasure to feature Winona LaDuke as our January speaker. She is a rural development economist and a sustainability activist. She is an international thought leader in the areas of climate justice, renewable energy, and environmental protection. She lives and works on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota and leads several organizations, including Honor the Earth, Anishinaabe Agriculture Institute, and Akiing, as well as Winona's Hemp. She is the author of 6 books, including All Our Relations and Recovering the Sacred. Her newest book is called To Be a Water Protector. But without further ado, please join me in welcoming Winona LaDuke.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
at least you can hear me. I'm working on getting these slides to you and I might just try to email them. But listen, I appreciate your time and you taking interest in the work that we are doing. You know, I'm honored to be with you. I'm up on the White Earth Reservation today. I'm going kind of back and forth in this at this moment where on one hand I'm preparing for a hemp crop and planting our seeds for the spring, the maple syruping time, and you know, basically getting ready to move into the next economy. And then on the other hand, I find myself in the middle of this resistance to this really crazy pipeline project, Minnesota's Line 3. And I feel like it's like a craziest thing because you could be driving down a road in northern Minnesota and on one hand, you will see wind turbines going by you, wind turbine parts, because they come in from the Port of Duluth and then they have to drive across northern Minnesota and they end up over there at Nebraska or something. But the closest, furthest inland port is there in Duluth. And on the other hand, you got all these pipes on the road. And I just am, you know, I feel like that we're in this crazy point in time where I want to be the people that are doing the right thing, not the dumb thing. And that's what I feel like this moment is. In the bigger picture, you know, what I want to say is I really like what, you know, our prophecies have talked about this time as the time of the 7th fire. When it said we have a choice between 2 paths, one well-worn and scorched and the other green. You know, that's what our prophets told us a long time ago, you know, was true. You know, but in this moment, it's also a time that I like what Arundhati Roy, the writer from India, she talks about pandemic as portal. I don't know if you've read any of her writing, but she's a really amazing Indian writer. And what she says is that in the history of the world, pandemics force societies to change. This one is no different. Puts societies, you know, brings societies to their knees. This moment in time, you know, she refers to the pandemic as a portal between 2 different worlds. And she asks us, do you want to take your data banks, your dirty rivers, your prejudices, your avarice? You want to walk through the portal with that, or you want to walk through clean? You know, and to me, that's really kind of the question in the moment that we are in, because everything is changing around us. Everything is changing, and we are bearing witness to that. And now is the time to really push for a transition. And the changes that we know in our hearts and minds are the changes that we want to see. So that's, you know, this moment that I'm looking at. I'm back at my farm, and then this morning I was out looking at the Shell River in northern Minnesota. It starts on Shell Lake near my house, and she just gushes forth in this just really beautiful creek. And you know, the Enbridge Line 3 project crosses the Shell River 4 times. I feel like it's kind of like gambling. I went to see her. She's beautiful. I needed my skis. I was trudging. You know, what do you want, Minnesota? You want something beautiful, or you know what? Now I'm going to try to share our screen. I got some photos for you, okay? But I'm not sure because now I have a really interesting, you know, they gave me a new computer and I'm having trouble with my new computer. So I don't know if any of you have been up north yet. Have you been up north to see what is going on with our rivers? Have you gone up north to see what is happening with our rivers here? It is so tragic, what is happening. And okay, now I'm going to make a really strong attempt to share my thing with you here. Now, where are you, my people? My people of the Zoom, here you are. Did I share?
Yeah.
Yay, I did something. All right. This was last week on Highway 169 north of Aiken, between Aiken and south of Grand Rapids. And, I'm a water protector. Technically I'm a rural development economist, but a long time ago I decided that, water's life. So that's where we live. And they started unrolling this pipeline, which they should have never unrolled. We're at the end of the fossil fuel era. I just say that because the party's over. And, the tar sands, they aren't even more investing in there. And Exxon, remember, they used to be in the biggest corporations in the world. Now, Exxon's not even in the top 10 anymore. Do y'all know that? Who's at the top 10 is, of course, Amazon and Google. And you understand what I'm saying? The world is changing. And so at the end of the fossil fuel era, Tim Walz somehow got some idea that he should approve this pipeline and make some jobs for Minnesotans. So what we got is 4,200 workers coming in from out of state mostly, because we don't have 4,200 union pipeline workers. They're from Texas and Utah, from Louisiana. That's the drill team. So here we go. This is where they're about to drill. They go underneath the road on Highway 169. And so we went out there to pray. And, there's been, this is us when we, let me see if I can make this next one go now. There we go. These, your people, these are water protectors. These are water protectors of all kinds out here. That's some of the equipment. What you can't see, and I wish I'd grabbed a photo of it to show you, I was looking for it, is the pipes. This machine in front of us there is got a pipe, it's dangling. And the thing about the pipes is that they're light green, dark brown, white, and tan, because they've been repainted a number of times, because they've been sitting in the sun, and that makes them corrode. And that's a problem. And so we're watching these pipes that are kind of multicolored pipes that they're putting down in northern Minnesota where all this water is. And, they say a new pipe is good because it's better, but the Keystone XL pipeline, as you may recall, brand new pipe, 383,000 gallons a couple of years ago, right? So I'm just saying new pipe is not good. No pipe is best. How's that? It's my clever things here. Here's a young guy who was in a tree for 7 days. His name's Liam. Liam, the water protector, one of my heroes. Did that for the water. Minnesota Department of Natural Resources gave away 693 million gallons of water in permits to Enbridge to discharge and move inner basin so that they can see if their pipes work. You understand? Like, I'm kind of wondering how that's supposed to work out. Because the water in the Red River watershed is not supposed to be in the Superior watershed. That's not how that's supposed to work. It's not just water, right? This is like living beings. And then this is us walking down the road. There's a lot of young women and women in leadership here in the North. So I feel like my day job is doing this and my night job is the next economy. And that's crazy. I'm just so tired at the end of this fossil fuel era that we're up here like this. There's 50 people been arrested so far and they're a month in. They're going gangbusters. And the reason they're going gangbusters is because they don't want us to get to court because we have a very good case, like an environmental impact statement that didn't do an assessment of a spill in Lake Superior, or didn't include climate change, or didn't include any options, and no federal EIS. Pipeline projects have all been overturned in court. And the two most recent pipelines, the Constitution and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, those canceled, as did a bunch of mines. My point is that Enbridge is trying to get the pipeline done before we get to court. And meantime, we're up here like this, and there's 4,200 guys from out of state, and we're in a pandemic. Does that sound like a crazy situation? This is not right. So basically, I'm telling you this story because this is my life, but I'm also telling you this story because we're going to be fighting over rocks and pipes for the rest of our lives, unless we have a just transition in Minnesota, unless we have the better plan. That's what we want. Okay, so there's a lot of pieces of the better plan. There's like local agriculture. We could like farm things we eat and eat things that we farm, get a little more local. That'd be great. Everybody here knows we just watched what a pandemic does to the food system, and what we find out. That you end up killing a bunch of animals and pouring off a bunch of milk because big isn't better. Small food systems are more resilient, right? We want to be smarter. And that's this opportunity. Keep building local food systems. I got really local here now. I shop mostly just with the Amish. I try to avoid going to town at all. And so we relocalize our food systems. We're trying to get as much petroleum out of it as possible. And then we created this thing. We created 8 Fire Solar, but we bought some really good technology that is for solar thermal heating. It can reduce your heating bill by about 20%. Put on a south-facing wall. And so here's our solar thermal panels. This is a picture from a couple years ago. We're putting this install up south-facing wall because it's simple technology. Gets hot, gets warm, and makes your house warm. There's a little blower fan in the back, blows the hot air into the house, and it's a really good way. If it's got to be on a south-facing wall, but in Minnesota, there's one thing's for sure: it's going to be cold as heck, but it's probably sunny. And so this is a really good idea for us in Minnesota. I'm showing you this because this is what we're doing on White Earth Reservation. We're manufacturing these now. And then over there at Red Lake Reservation, they just put up 200 kilowatts of solar, and they're going for 2 megawatts. So I feel like in the north, there's all these tribes that have been fighting this pipeline. But besides that, they got a lot of ideas on how to be more resilient, right? And that's what we need to do. We need to make an economy that makes sense of local food and local energy and make things a lot more resilient in a time of climate change. In the meantime, in this opportunity that we have, let us also just make things more beautiful. And this is she's making it into more of a poster, but this is a piece of art in our village. Showing you this because we've been painting the side of these houses in the housing project because they're ugly. And there's a lot of ugliness out there in the world. Let's make things a lot better. That's our strategy. So this is our organization, Honor the Earth. I don't know. Now I figured out how to share my screen, although I can't share my face. I got this far though. Happy to answer any questions. I got all kinds of things to talk about. But anyway, thanks so much for your time, and I'm sorry for all the technical trouble.
Winona, this is Audrey. Could you share a little bit more about some of the other economic development ideas?
Sure.
In terms of other plants, and I understand you're part of some other.
My hemp project. You want me to talk about my coolest could be hemp project, don't you?
I do.
What a good idea. Give me a minute, see if I can find it. I know you can see me flipping around on my screen. Oh, I know why I can't have it in here. So this is a different computer. I have no idea what it is. But anyway, so this is our story. I've been growing hemp for the past 5 years with a permit from the state of Minnesota, right? And that hemp that I've been growing is fiber hemp. And what I'm interested in is the fact that Minnesota used to have 11 hemp mills. The oldest hemp mill in Minnesota was in my favorite town, Winona, Minnesota. When marijuana was criminalized, everything was closed down. And it's kind of like that question with the electric car, who killed the electric car? Well, this is like, who killed the hemp industry and what they do with the body? We can't find darn anything. And so for the past 5 years, my little stalwart crew, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to figure out how to open up this PowerPoint here. My little team has been growing this hemp, and we got like 5, well, we've been growing for 5 years, and we got 20 acres this last year. It's fiber hemp. We grew varieties from Europe, and then we're working with some feral varieties because, you know, they say it grows like weed. There's ditch varieties from Minnesota that lived all this time. And our interest is in building a textile economy again. A reason that that's important is that the word canvas comes from cannabis. Now, how much cooler or more clear could you get than the potential that that has to transform the world? So I'm interested in what the materials economy looks like, right? And the materials economy is can be made through, see, I don't have this in here. I thought I had this on this USB port. I don't know. I can see if I could pull one up here. But the thing is that the materials economy right now, like they said that there was a time when we had a choice between a carbohydrate economy and a hydrocarbon economy. And we made the wrong choice. Because the fact is that anything you do with oil, you could pretty much do with hemp. Has 10,000 uses from canvas to hempcrete building materials for houses. And we did a hempcrete building project and built a greenhouse this fall. And we're looking at, you know, it's carbon neutral. And if you think that like cement, they say that cement or concrete, if it was a country, it'd be the 3rd largest source of CO2 emissions after the US and China. So what if you replace that with hempcrete? So is that a good summary? We're building an intertribal hemp cooperative. That's what I'm working on. If I could get another picture off this. So you guys hold on a second. I'll see if I can get another picture. But you can ask me another question.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Rod.
Standing Rock. Whatever happened to that case, that guy, they caught him trying to smuggle a automatic rifle into the Standing Rock camp, and they found that he was working for the pipeline, and that case just kind of ended in the media. I couldn't follow it, you know, they just stopped it. I think the North Dakota government interfered.
Mm-hmm.
But they got that guy's name on the evening news, and after that, nothing. Whatever happened to that guy or that case? And that was sick.
Yeah, well, I mean, that guy's name was Kyle. I forget his last name. He did no time in jail. The only time that's been, you know, done in jail has been by water protectors. I did see one of these guys not too long ago. You know, he had faced some federal charges, and he was able to get out of jail. I think, you know, I don't know how long he was in, but you know, the thing is that in Minnesota, we had a pipeline called the Sandpiper, which was the first Enbridge pipeline project. And that pipeline project was fought by the tribes and was fought by a lot of people up north here. And Enbridge canceled that project. And then Enbridge went and moved that project, basically invested in North Dakota in the Dakota Access Pipeline. And so the reason that we're, you know, talking about this is because basically Standing Rock was financed. 28% of it was Enbridge's money. And a lot of the people, a lot of the $38 million worth of military expenditures, that was really for Enbridge too. And so I really think it's important to know that. And up north, you know, we've seen a lot of surveillance already. We've seen Enbridge unloading equipment at the Hubbard County Sheriff's Office. We have pictures of that, you know, and to me, there's questions that, you know, and there's so many sheriffs up north. There's so many police. You know, it was like 2 degrees out and there's about 30 water protectors standing there. And we're just trying to stop a pipeline that should never have been permitted. We're trying to stop, you know, this huge crime against nature that is about to unfold and slow it down so that at least we can get into court and have our say in court. And there's 30 there's 30 water protectors on one side of the easement and there's 30 policemen on the other side of the easement. It's like 2 degrees out. And I start kind of like kicking the snow and I'm standing there on the water protector team. And I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You know, we're out here in the middle of Akiing County in northern Minnesota. It's 2 degrees and we're fighting over a pipeline of a Canadian multinational. You know, and I was looking at all these cops and I don't even hate those cops. You know, I mean, they're people too. They just live in Akiing County. And I said, so at a certain point, I said to him, I was looking at the cops. I said, hey, you guys want to play Red Rover? I mean, how crazy, you know? I was like, what are we doing here? You know, I said, send Cheryl over. I think I know half the cops up there. It's just dumb. It's like, what is Waltz doing to us up north? And you know, so basically those guys, those provocateurs and all those guys that were, you know, that are there in Standing Rock, we're getting them up north too. And it makes me just so damn mad because, you know, I can't believe that we're having this conversation right now. I just can't believe that, you know, we got to have the last damn tar sands pipeline. I mean, what are we thinking, Minnesota? Why is that a good idea at any point, the last tar sands pipeline? Like, why is that a good idea, right? So.
I have a question. I was reading that you're not the biggest fan of GMOs. Can you explain, is it the patenting of it or is it the actual technology that you're not a fan of, and splicing a firefly with a strawberry to make it light up when it needs watering or something like that, as far as I understand GMOs and what I've learned about them. But yeah, if you can explain that, that would be wonderful.
That's such an interesting question that you asked, Joseph. Okay, so look, this is what I figure is like, well, you know, so this year I grow corn. I grow corn most years. And I grow like old Indian corn varieties, right? And I got a bunch of kids I work with because, you know, plus during now, turns out that I end up like quarantined with 7 kids, right? How lucky is that? Anyway, to make a long story short, we're out there in our cornfield and you can see all our Indian corn. It came in and it was like a crazy season, this, that, but the corn adapted because it's smart. Like some of our guys, they didn't grow very tall, but they got, you know, they were it was kind of dry and they got what they needed and they put on an ear. You know, the thing is that my corn is intelligent. GMO corn is a robot. It doesn't have the ability to adapt. It's a gamble. It's a gamble that science is smarter than Mother Nature. I just don't think that's true.
Okay,
And then
so
the
what
other thing is that I don't like the that, you know, that the trajectory that it put us on of more and more chemicals, more and more pesticides, and then, you know, we are now with what, 47% of our lakes or something are undrinkable, you know, are not good water no more, you know, so all of that plus, right?
Yeah, well, I understand herbicides and pesticides are a little bit different than GMOs, but I mean, so what I understand is that there's natural selection and then there's artificial selection, so which is crop breeding. So I mean, I'm not against that. I just have the qualms of, we are using nature, but it's just kind of like crop breeding. It's just a form of technology. So I don't know what you would say to that. It's like artificial selection.
Well, are you saying that it's also the property thing?
No, I'm not saying it's proper. I don't think patents are a good idea in the first place, but it's just the actual technology of that to keep food costs down, of like the tomatoes and the cucumbers. So yeah, I'm not saying it's property.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just think that the whole, you know, the whole idea, and it gets further and further, you know, away from being real. And I think that, you know, we become so disconnected from our, you know, the natural world that, you know, we don't even know what's going on out there. Okay, here's some Green Revolution photos. Look at that. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Did I share you? Okay, so this looks like in the 70s, doesn't that? My new Green Revolution thing.
Yeah.
And then here's our hemp farm. And then here's my team, my harvest from, I don't know why that photo looks like that, my harvest from 2018. That's what we're talking about, fiber hemp. And then this is, I don't know why they got that funny thing in there. This is my team. Did I mention that I'm quarantined with well, right now I'm with 6 14-year-olds. Did I say that already?
Yes.
This is the hemp harvest. This is, I've taken it down. Oh, did I mention that I hang out with the Amish all the time and shop there? This is two of my horses and 2 of the Amish horses putting in my hemp crop. Doesn't that look like awesome and fun?
Audrey here again. So could you tell us a little bit about how you actually do this farming? I grew up on a farm, a small family farm in the mid 20th century when we used smaller tractors and whatnot, but it's not like today. But how do you do your farming on the reservation?
Well, I have some more pictures of my farming, but I farm we have a farm a few places, right? So I have a couple acres of produce that I grow at my farm, right? And that I do some tractor, a lot of horse cultivation, a lot of hand labor. I got a horse cultivator I got ponies that go in between my rows. I put in some of my fields with horses. And so that's kind of my scale. And then the larger field of hemp, this field here was put in with a tractor. And then this was harvested with a sickle mower and a tractor. And the tractor was it's like a 40-year-old tractor. We use a lot of older equipment, but also small scale, because scale does matter. And I'm trying to build a system that is a lot more self-reliant and a lot less impactive in terms of its energy impact and human impact. And then I have a lot of, I live with the kids and yeah. So animal, some, some rototilling, some tractors. Okay, so this is cool though. And these guys, it's what we're working towards. And then this here, these are some hemp farmers. I sent hemp seeds to all these Indian communities out trying to interested in the fiber hemp. So these women, photo on the left, this is Madonna Thunderhawk and her daughter, Miss Marcella Gilbert. That's from the movie Warrior Women. The photo on the right, I said, send me a photo of you as hemp farmers. And they sent me that one. I thought that was super funny. They're all happy. Navajo hemp farmer, a Navajo rug weaver using my hemp fiber.
Do you expect to scale this at all? I mean, on a small scale, but other Minnesotans, either Caucasians or other Indigenous folks, what is sort of your vision for this hemp project, and will the state cooperate in giving more permits?
That is a really great question, and you're asking exactly the right question. Okay, so I'm doing my food production, and I'm working with different varietals, and I'm running like an agricultural research project on hemp and hemp varietals, because pretty much everybody who's interested in hemp wants to make $1 million on CBDs. What I want to do is build this materials economy, because that's revolutionary. That's how you get plastic out of our materials economy, is you move to hemp. And so that is scaled. You're absolutely right. Me doing a cute little project is not going to get all the blue plastic off of the boats of Minnesota, or all the vinyl tarps out. Minnesotans farmed at a scale with local processing is how you're going to do that. And so, we've been looking at the different pieces, and just to be clear about the fiber hemp economy, the fiber is about 25%, if that, of the plant. 80% or maybe 70%, we should say, is hurd. Hurd is the stuff that you make hempcrete out of. And so it's really important, if you're going to look at a whole hemp economy, Minnesota, I call this the new green revolution, because I think this is the new green revolution. It's an absolutely transitional economy. So you have to look at the whole plant approach. It's not just the bud, it's not just the fiber, and it's not just the hurd. All of these things have potential. And so that requires scale. We're working on building an intertribal hemp cooperative, and we're looking at kind of building a regional hemp cooperative committed to an organic hemp economy focused on the materials economy. That's what I really like doing. I don't really like fighting pipelines. I really like growing things. I'm sorry, but like, how interesting is all this, right? That's like way more interesting. Here's our if you want to know about this stuff, Anishinaabe Agriculture is our tax exempt group. It's Winona Hemp. You can look at it online, but we've been working with a lot of farmers. I've been growing for 5 years. Yep. And these are some of our, productions. This is our farm. If you ever go up northern Minnesota, that's right on Highway 34.
Winona?
Yeah.
It sounds like to me that a lot of things you're trying to do is get back to nature, and I certainly applaud that. I grew up in, talk about growing things. I grew up in Southwest Kansas, and for the last 30 years out there, they've been mining the water from a water table of about 50 feet to our water table that's now is about 250 feet, growing corn to feed livestock in feedlots.
Right.
At ridiculous, and what they're doing is mining an irreplaceable resource. I mean, it's pretty easy for people to drill a well to supply a family with a 25-foot water table. But when that water table gets to 300 feet and like that,
it almost makes the land unlivable. And so I guess that the reason I like to see anything that turns back towards nature is because I'm not sure that I believe in technology anymore. I'm not even sure I believe in progress. Because you mentioned a while ago that no one knows what's going on, really. And I applaud that because we are each out here just making money to survive. I'm not blaming those people that are mining that water. They're going to make money out of it just like I make money without knowing the ultimate consequences of my living by making money. And they will mine it out until there's no more money in it, and they'll go someplace else and abuse the planet. And not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they live in a culture in which you got to make money to survive. And so I just wanted to share my view that I really appreciate the work that you and the people with you are doing, because we've got to find a way to survive in which is some other way than making money. Because until we do, we're never going to respect the planet. And it's not because there's anything wrong with us. It's because there's something wrong with our circumstances.
You know, thanks for saying that, you know, really, because we know that that's true, that, you know, the only way to survive is you can't pick a fight with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You know, that's just not going to work out.
Well, I tell you, I hope where these thoughts come from. I've just recently published a book entitled Rediscovering the Wisdom of Human Nature. And the subtitle is How Civilization Destroys Happiness. And that's where those thoughts come from. And it's available on Amazon. So.
Thank you.
I'll put it on the chat window so that.
Would you? Yeah.
People can look at it if they want to. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there we are.
Winona, are there ways that people who are interested in this, especially this hemp project and development, as a farmer, I mean, again, I'm not a farmer now, but I grew up on a farm. I care deeply about these issues and everything that you're saying. Is there a way that we can be supportive, or is there legislation we need to help get passed? Or how is it that people who care about building a more green economy and helping rural Minnesota and not have this urban rural divide,
right?
What can we do, or how can we be supportive of these endeavors?
Well, you know, I do think that this is this moment. You know, up there looking down the barrel of a pipeline, I had about 25 state legislators come up and see what's going on. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying, maybe we don't want to be fighting over pipes and mines for the rest of our lives. Maybe we want to make something better, you know? And so that's what we got to do, is push for that. And so push for a just transition, a green, you know, green jobs, Green New Deal, push for that there's funding for solar in the north and for hemp. Push for Indigenous people to have a seat at the table, because there's a lot of interest in it. And, you know, so that's part of what's important, you know, is to really, you know, and then, you know, there's a lot of pieces of kind of like deconstructing the mess. You know, we always, I mean, I want to say there's different things people help with, but I mean, from the rural co-ops and the things that need to be straightened out, and the corruption in the rural co-ops. I mean, I swear to God, I'm paying for Enbridge's infrastructure in my rural co-op bill. That doesn't make any sense, you know? How'd that happen that the company is the largest energy consumer in Minnesota? Who's paying that bill? You understand what I'm saying? I was like, we got all kind of crazy stuff we got to deconstruct, because we don't want to be doing crazy stuff like that. And then for our hemp work, you know, we're really trying to, a lot of what I'm doing right now is we're looking at a bunch of technology and trying to figure out what is the best and most appropriate technology to scale a facility to do a fiber economy here, to build a fiber economy. And that's kind of the big question, because nobody is doing it in this country right now. Although there's some discussion that there might be, we sent some fiber to North Carolina. So it's in the development stage, but we really need that. What we're hoping to do is to create an industry that's a mid-scaled industry that can help transition agriculture in northern Minnesota from GMO green revolution to new green revolution agriculture. That's the vision. And it'd be worth it, because we offshore the textile economy, right, to Asia. We basically, deconstructed a lot of America's. We don't even make stuff here anymore. We buy it in China, right? And so, what if we began making a real, like, what if Duluth instead of was, what if we made stuff?
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying is
how much hemp do we have to grow in Minnesota, and who's going to grow it? The other thing is, what competition do you face? Competition from other farmers? I mean, not that I would like to see more farmers growing hemp.
Yeah, there's no competition. First of all, the next economy is not competition, it's cooperation. If you want to transform the economy, you got to work together. The thing about hemp, the cannabis economy, is that it represents an entirely new economy that could be built in a just manner from the native people with the large land bases, because we have, I'm talking basically about the tribes I'm working with who are to the west, who have million-acre land bases that are interested in building an agricultural economy of which hemp is a part. And so the interest I have is in what we have is in getting the seeds and the production systems and then the manufacturing systems down. And nobody is doing that right now. But there's going to be plenty of room, because the United States is the largest importer of hemp products in the world, including textiles, and we don't make it here. And so from that to medical marijuana to recreational cannabis, I mean, all of that should be legal. And frankly, the people who went to jail should be the people who should be, a lot of people receive criminal convictions for cannabis. And if you want justice, you have to make sure that brown people are in the industry where they are also in the dispensary business, right? That's what justice looks like, is you build, and there's a model in LA. Kareem Webb was building, making sure that dispensaries are owned by people of color. So we have this really good potential. I think legalization of cannabis, I was laughing, I write letters to the governor, and I was like, you should just legalize cannabis. That's like 10 times the economy of pipelines. I mean, without being, I was like, and I just want to grow fiber hemp. I was like, let's be revolutionary. Let's quit fighting over dumb stuff. Let's make something better. From my perspective, Minnesota was a place where Norman Borlaug of Borlaug Hall, considered the father of the Green Revolution, came from. I'm like, let's make it the place with the new Green Revolution, where we do better stuff. That's what I see. I'm like so interested in this, and also, you guys, just please help us push Waltz, because we would really like a stay. We would really like to get to court on this pipeline. We would really like to stop them in court, and you would like that to happen too.
We don't know what will it take.
Huh?
We don't know what will it take to get it to court. What is
we filed in court. So in the latest set of twirls in the Minnesota regulatory process, I just want to say, if some of you are watching this, we jumped through every hoop, every flaming hoop, we didn't miss a step. The tribes and our organization, Honor the Earth, the landowners at Friends of the Headwaters, we plugged away. The youth climate interveners, And then, you know, Waltz basically said, there's jobs and we're going to do this and I'll feel better and, you know, we'll have something. And so now we, you know, and in the meantime, even the Department of Commerce filed to overturn this permit. Do you remember that in August? The Department of Commerce, the White Earth Band, the Red Lake Band, and Honor the Earth said, you can't, that permit's bad. The route permit is bad because you didn't do a spill analysis for Lake Superior. You didn't figure in climate change. You didn't talk to the tribes and you didn't present an alternative. And they also said that the economics of tar sands oil are dead. $85 a barrel to get the stuff out, to send it to China or send it back to Canada. This oil is going to Canada. My point is that that case hasn't been heard. The merits of the case warranted a hearing being accepted by the appeals court, but in the meantime, Enbridge is plowing ahead. We want our day in court. We'd like a stay. We filed for a stay on Christmas Eve, having been turned down by the Public Utilities Commission. We said we need a stay because there's a pandemic and because the pipeline is out of order and should never have been permitted in the first place. We don't have a stay. We're hoping to get a stay in the next couple of weeks and then get to court. Court is scheduled for sometime later this spring. Maybe we can get it, you know, moved ahead a little bit. I think that I don't know how they even do that, but we also filed in federal court. So, you know, just to give you a perspective, the big pipeline projects don't do well in federal court. You know, Keystone, Dakota Access do not do well in courts. It's the Trump administration that kept pushing them ahead. And the Constitution pipeline, you know, was canceled. So we'd just like to get to court.
So are you hopeful, Winona, that if in the Biden administration that it could receive a stay or overturned?
Yeah, I mean, Biden administration could order an environmental impact statement for the project because there was no federal EIS. That's what they should do. And then someone should review the water discharge permits, because the idea that you could discharge 693 million gallons of water interbasin kind of, it's actually, you know, there's a lot of problems with that. And of course, the Trump administration didn't look at those, right? So I am hopeful with the Biden administration. I'm hopeful, you know, but this is my assessment. I fought this pipeline for 7 years. I spent a lifetime fighting stupid projects, frankly, you know, GMOs, big dam projects, coal-fired power plants, nuclear waste dumps. My God, you know, I'm so, those are also last century. You know what I mean? It's like time to move on. And I really believe that the just transition is what you really got to push. Just squish the economics of the bad ideas. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Tesla's the richest guy in the world. I mean, what's his name? Elon Musk. He even surpassed Bezos. You know, the fact is that the future is, and the world is moving towards, you know, both less transportation because we are all zooming around now, and two, a lot more electric cars, a lot more renewables, you know? So keep pushing, Minnesota, and then push in, and then be proud. I mean, we're the state that Wellstone came from. We're the state that Marv Davidoff came from. You know, we're the state for the American Indian movement. We're the state, you know, we're a proud bunch. You know, Miradel LeSueur, come on. Who are we, Minnesota?
That's right.
Be proud.
Harlan, do you want to see who else has questions?
Okay, we're going to formally start our Q&A session now. And the way we're going to work it today is that most of you are familiar with Zoom. You'll know that, well, on my iPad, it says more, but there's this ability to raise your hand by hitting the yellow icon for raise hand. So if people have a question, why don't you do that? And then I'm also going to rely on our Vice President, Suzanne, to check out the chats to see if there's any questions on chat. So there's two ways of asking questions. You could raise your hand via the icon. I'll call on you, and please keep your questions relatively short, or you could use the chat function, and we could, Suzanne will read your question from the chat function. I'm going to lead it off. I'm going to ask Winona. I noticed some of your, real game-changing products with hemp are textiles and building materials. What other products do you foresee hemp fiber really being a game changer for?
Rope. The best hanging rope is hemp rope. All those sails, all that sailing. Yes. That'd be rope. Textiles, well, that could be everything from shoes to the fact that, like, pretty much they say that, we're slathering ourselves in fossil fuels right now, polyester, nylon, all that stuff. Time to quit wearing it, And then look at something like car parts, Ford, all those guys are looking at hemp. I mean, Henry Ford made a car out of hemp that was fueled on hemp oil. That's some potential. They have plastics, but I'm trying to get rid of the idea of single-use containers, because I don't think that replacing single-use containers that are plastic with single-use containers that are hemp. You could do some of that, but what you really want to do is reduce your single-use containers and do things like, I'm finishing this book on this, but there's a brewery in Bayern Brewery in Missoula, Montana, and they wash bottles. The average, I'm talking like IPAs, cider, all those guys, they just get their bottles washed again. They don't try to pretend that they're recycling them, just like the old milkman. So there's a lot of solutions in a different economy. That's what we want. We want to make the next economy.
Okay. Christine, do you have a question, or did you already ask yours?
I asked already, thank you.
Okay, Jerry Smith.
Sure.
Yeah, actually it's Juliet's question, so I'm
Okay.
turning it over to her.
Okay, Juliet.
Hi, Winona.
Hi, Juliet.
Thank you for taking time with us today. I was wondering if you have proposed any of your ideas or worked with the University of Minnesota in developing some of your ideas with manufacturing different products with hemp, and also if you are ever able to have the ear of Pete Stauber to come up with ideas to replace mining up north, like in the Virginia area.
I tried working with the U early on, and now I'm working with the U on a new project, which is on, well, I think they're going to get it funded, but the idea is for me and our tribal growers to grow out some of the feral hemp varieties in Minnesota, because if they've been hanging around for 70 years, they're tough dudes, right? So we want to see what those Minnesota tough dudes do if you breed them into some of these other things. If you've got something that be like the most toughest hempcrete possibility ever, So we're doing that now. I tried Ori, but they were really useless, I have to say. So maybe they'll improve in the future. And Agriculture Utilization Research Institute at U. And then, but I hold out for hope, but I think that, be even cool. I wanted Minnesota Science Museum or the History Museum to put together the history of Minnesota hemp. Someone should find that for us, because we have this proud history in Minnesota that, I was digging around, and we're pretty good researchers up here, but, someone should put that together for Minnesota so we can see our proud history, right? As far as, what was the other question besides the U?
I was wondering if you are able to work with Pete Stauber.
Oh, Pete Stauber.
And if you could propose something to him for the new economy to replace mining up north.
Yeah, you know what? Stauber, I think he's got the playbook from the last century still. And I don't know if we want to put it down. But there's there's a bunch of new young women that got elected up there. I don't know if you saw that. And a couple of them came out to see us, came out to see a bunch of, you know, people standing there trying to protect their water from a Canadian multinational. And they, you know, and I said, we don't want to do this. We want a better economy. And they understood that, you know, and so they're from Duluth area. And so I really want to focus some work over by Duluth. Yes, you're right, because I feel like Duluth, you know, and Superior, I mean, y'all watched that in 2018, the blow up of the Husky refinery. Talk about last century technology. That's like a 40 or 50-year-old refinery that should be mothballed, and it's flipping dangerous as heck. You know, if the hydrogen fluoride tank had gone, that's like basically a napalm bomb or something. So my point would be, it's really be great to have a transition in Duluth and Superior, and I'm ready to roll up our sleeves, you know, my sleeves in our groups. Akiing is kind of our community development corporation. And, but if there's some humanists that got some good, you know, skill sets, I mean, I need writing support, and I'm looking for some more support in kind of our business and strategic development. You guys are all big thinkers. There's probably a couple big thinkers out there that might want to contact us over at, you know, my email, I'll put my email back up here. And then, you know, I'm just saying, we got a lot going on. Did you get that impression? Yeah, I bet you did. But we need help. I say we, there's a lot of us, you know, we got like 8 people work at Akiing and do all the solar work and the hemp work. Pretty cool bunch.
Harlan, there's one question someone asked a while ago.
Yes.
Is the heating device from 8th Fire Solar available for sale?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's probably about, I think it's like 4,000 or something. It's like, you know, it's like a pretty quick turnaround, a couple of years on your investment, I think. Maybe 4 years, I don't know. Well, yes, 8th Fire Solar, you could look us up online. We shipped a bunch to North Dakota, some to Wisconsin. We did a bunch of installs here. I feel really good about it. 8th Fire Solar, you know, and then, you know, and as you gathered, Winona's Hemp and Anishinaabe Agriculture, we're in the restoration stage or the development stage. That's what I'd say. I'm not producing anything yet. I mean, I am producing some things, but, you know. Now, someone asked me about pipe, Minnesota, Take Action Minnesota. We are working with everybody. You know, there's a broad coalition of groups working to oppose this pipeline because it's, you know, it's not just a pipeline. It's really about what you want to do, Minnesota. You want to keep enabling a Canadian multinational. Did you see what they just did in Michigan? The governor of Michigan closed the pipe down under the Straits of Mackinac because she cited the public trust doctrine because it's a pipe built in, I think it's like 60 years old, and got hit by an anchor, and Enbridge is not going to shut down the pipe. I was like, so how's that work, Minnesota? You get a crazy Canadian corporation, you tell them to shut down and they don't. You know, I'm like, who is the adult here? That's what I asked those legislators. I said, who's in charge? A Canadian multinational or you? Are you the government? Who's the government? You know, it's like having, y'all raise kids. I raised a lot of kids and now I raise grandchildren. And I was like, the rule is you don't get to make a new mess until you clean up your old mess, right? You know, you don't get to just keep making a mess and then say, I'm going to throw the TV out the window unless you give me a new pipe route. No. So this is the time for adults like us who are thinking coherently to keep promoting the just transition, the next economy, the one that has a lot of organic food in it, a lot of solar, a lot of hemp, electric trains, a lot less oil.
Chet, did you have another question? And then we'll go to Rod.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was going to say you left out the most important thing from Minnesota, Garrison Keillor. Were all the children above average? But that's how we down here in Arizona know about Minnesota. But I did think of something while you were just talking. You said, who's in charge here? Well, it's money in charge. Money will outweigh adult thinking 1,000 times a day. So when we talk about a new economy, it's got to be based on something real rather than a legally enforced medium, legally authorized medium of exchange.
Well, that's why I point out that Exxon used to be at the top of the S&P.
Yeah.
And where are they now? Can't even kick their way in. They're way down there. It's the tech firms. And these guys like Google and Amazon, they each bought like 10,000 new electric transport vehicles. Sure. All electric, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that the economy is changing. And I feel like even Stauber, like all these guys are like last century playbook. And what you need is a combination. This is my assessment is that I come from sensible people. Most of you probably do too. I come from people that, didn't try to live beyond their means. They try to eat good and they made good decisions. They didn't waste a lot. They weren't jerks. And they knew things like in the wintertime, don't go driving around, all day in your ATV because, you might, just like take care of, be a little more simple. And we need that kind of sensible thinking, combined with this, the kind of economics that is solar and renewables. We need to be thinking sensibly instead of like people don't, I'm hanging with you and I'm here on this computer, but for crying out loud, I spend a lot of time outside. People talk about freedom, but most people seem to spend more time looking at their phones than walking out their door. Amazing.
Precisely.
Just amazing.
I came from sensible. I grew up in a rural community in southwestern Kansas, and
yep.
And now I'm living in a city that has virtually no sense of community at all. And back then, life made sense. I can't make hardly any sense out of even what I'm doing today. And so I think that, basically, it's not just the resources that there needs to be a transformation in. There needs to be a transformation in human relationships, because it's only through our connection to other people that we know contentment. And the connections to other people back in that rural community was 50 times what it is here where I live today. And I think we're all suffering. It's not just from habitat destruction, but our souls are suffering. The suicide rates and drug usage are skyrocketing, when back then there was none in that community anyhow. And so, yeah, I appreciate everything you're doing, but I really think when you talk about sensible people, we got to start thinking about where sensibilities come from. And they don't come from a massive city where employees don't even work for the company anymore as a group. They're each separate contractors. So we don't even have any communities among the people we work with. Well, I've spouted.
I see that, I live in a rural community. I lived in rural communities my whole life. I'm a rural development economist. That's my gig. But, there is something really in that to be said because, but that affirmation can exist in other places when you rebuild communities so that you have community businesses. So you have community, you have community parks. Instead of everybody sitting in their yard, people go to, but here you're right. Like I know people and I know their parents and their grandparents, because I'm 61. So I know a lot of people, but then, it is intergenerational relationships and families. And, you know, it's super interesting during the pandemic, kind of the rebuilding of relationships, kind of I live in like where I farm is like rural Wolf Lake area. And so that's mostly Amish and, you know, Finnish and us. I think it's super interesting how you rebuild community in these rural areas when you're forced to not go anywhere, you know?
Yeah, I think that's something that needs to be thought about.
Yeah.
For instance, that rural community I grew up in, it doesn't even exist anymore because there was no economic base for it. I mean, money has been driving farmers off the land for the last 60 years.
Okay. Chet, I think Rod has a question now. Rod, do you want to ask Winona something?
Yeah, Winona, in regards to agriculture and big farms and chemical farming, these guys are so entrenched in the way they do things. A lot of them have turned their fathers' failed farms of the Depression into these pretty big money-making operations. They did it all with chemicals, like I said before. Would you ever be in favor of land use mandating by the state or the Fed? Like if you have so many acres, so much a part of that has to be organic and has to be edible food and not a soybean or a piece of corn that you don't know where in the hell it goes. Because I know where I live, the farmers had lots and lots of acres, and you could take 20 or 30 of those and have the Mexican laborers that they hire every year, have them have organic vegetables to supply a local co-op, you know, or local grocery store. Would you ever be in favor of mandating land use?
That's a really interesting idea. I don't know if I quite, you know, got to that. I think that, I mean, you know, the USDA used to require everybody to grow a 1/4 acre of hemp and a 1/4 acre of linen.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was for local use of all those products. That was back in the day with the USDA. I thought that's really interesting to think about that because that's not what we're doing now, right?
Right.
Right now we're just financing a bunch of, like you said, corporate ag, right?
Just the opposite.
Mm-hmm. And I don't, you know, I think that there's a lot of money, but there's a lot of debt, you know, and so that combination, I mean, this isn't a healthy farm economy up here. Like, you know, we have small scale subsistence farms, maybe 100 acres. And then you got the, you know, 400, 500, 600 acres, highly mechanized farms, or, you know, RDO off at 11,000 acres up here. That's a potato farmer. My strategy is you keep pushing on environmental protection, keep pushing on organic, and work on transitioning the economy. I think that mandates is a good idea. You know, I mostly work on tribal government. I mean, maybe the tribe could say, if you're going to grow in our reservation, this is, you know.
Some of those guys, you say sustainable, some of those farmers, you know, you say sustainable or community and they just go berserk, you know, that means no money. You're not going to make money that way. They just.
But that's not true now. I mean, you're seeing that, you know, the transition. And so, I mean, and the other thing is that, I mean, I don't actually, there's a difference between quality of life and level of income.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I come from like kind of the school of gross national happiness, not the school of larger corporate earnings.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's part of the transition that, you know, we really need to keep pushing. And I actually think that, I mean, you know, corporate welfare has been great, huh? I mean, that's what you got. A lot of corporate welfare when you keep giving these guys all this stuff. Enbridge has a huge amount of corporate welfare. I mean, and then they act like they're giving us jobs. I was like, well, looks like you took all that water, huh?
Yeah. A train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Winona, I have one question in the chat here. Are you familiar with the Land Stewardship Project, working with farmers across the state for more sustainable agriculture?
Yeah, I am. They're really cool. I've done some work with them and a lot of work with them. And then our pal from who's in Arizona, you know, he lives over by West Jackson, right? And West Jackson, Chet, that's where, and he's in Salina, Kansas, and he's working on restoring perennializing agriculture. You know, he's a really good, you know, good guy. There's a lot of good people that are doing really good rural farm work. And then some people I was on the phone with, or a Zoom meeting with here last week, the Northern Plains Resource Council, they're out of North Dakota and South Dakota, and they're working on a hemp cooperative. You know, so there's all kind of cool people doing good work. And, you know, and from the hemp conversations we had, I mean, North Dakota should have a lot of hemp and wind power from what I can see, you know, instead of coal and GMOs. But you got to start somewhere, you know, so building these collaborations is a really important thing.
Any other?
Are you going to ask a question, Suzanne, or was that your question?
No, I was asking that on behalf of someone else.
Okay, any further questions? Well, if not, I want to thank Winona so much for speaking today at our community gathering. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I thought I learned a lot. I'm looking forward to hemp products. I'm going to go to my Menards or whatever and look for them, see what I can do. And I'd like to turn it over now to Audrey, who is going to talk about our social hour.
All
Audrey,
right.
are you-
Yes, I am. And I want to thank Winona again so much for being here. It was a delight to hear from you, and gosh, maybe I'll try to connect. I'm not going to do farming anymore, but I sure love all your ideas. So, and I'll just put one more plug in before we're going to go to social time. And Winona, if you want to stay around to socialize with people, you may, but if you have to go, that's fine too. And that is, that was my question at the end about the Land Stewardship Project, because I just wanted others to know, you know, I think, Winona, we can connect with your organizations as well. But those of you who care about rural issues, the Land Stewardship Project is an organization that's working across the state with farmers on more sustainable agriculture. And I find it a promising organization to help change what's going on in farming in our state. So I just put that plug in.
Thanks for bringing them up, and they are great. There's a lot of really good groups doing good work, and that Land Stewardship Project is one. And, you know, again, I just want to thank you all. I'm sorry about my technical, but I got to show you pictures and I got to see all your faces. So thank you again for having me. And, you know, I think you got some ways to get a hold of me through Honor the Earth or Winona's Hemp. Keep an eye out for us. You know, put some pressure on Waltz for the next economy. Okay. We're all ready for that one. All ready for no more crazy people in Washington, okay?